In a new poll that may surprise absolutely no one, the Mueller testimony did literally nothing. Not only that, it had terrible ratings. The story from Vox says, new polling finds Mueller's testimony didn't change Americans' mind on impeachment. Democrats hoped for a watershed moment, but new polls find few Americans have been swayed on impeachment and Russia. Not only that, the polls show nobody cares about Russia. They kind of do. It's like a passive thing. I'm interested in it. But look, I'd be willing to bet the amount of Americans that care about Russia are the entirety of Rachel Maddow's viewership. What, 2 million people? If that. What we learned from this is something we could have predicted. In fact, we didn't even need a poll to show it. For one, the country is divided upon tribal lines. Democrats are like, oh, we should impeach Trump, the Mueller testimony. Republicans are like, this is a stupid waste of time. Predictable. Here's the thing. I think the centrists are with the right on this one. I am right now planning on voting Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard, most likely, maybe Andrew Yang. I don't think they're going to win. Whatever. I like them on principle, and I'm not going to go through all their things because that's not the point. I do this all the time. I go through their policies. I don't need to do that. The point is, I am looking at Yang and Tulsi. A lot of moderates absolutely are as well. A lot of people on the left, progressives, have praised Tulsi Gabbard. So there is a left that likes this woman and thinks she is going to be a great leader, but we don't think that they'll let her win. But also at the same time, as someone like myself who does support actively a Democrat, I was not swayed by the Mueller testimony. In fact, if anything, Matt Gaetz' statement on the origin of the Russia collusion hoax, yes, it's fake news. There was no evidence of this, was never investigated. So at the very least, I, as a moderate leaning to the left, have now been pushed away from any idea. I mean, look, I'm not for impeachment anyway. I think it's stupid. Even if Trump maybe could have obstructed, he didn't. And so it's my only thing is like, they're not doing anything for America. So why should anybody care? More importantly, though, it didn't move the needle at all. It's not doing anything. The viewership was down. Nobody cares. Enough. We're done. Move on, please. They won't. There was an article from the Washington Post that said Democrats are struggling to figure out what their next move is because the Mueller testimony fell flat. He gave them nothing. They've got nothing. What policies does the Democratic Party have? It's nonsense. There's a couple things I can point out, a couple. Elizabeth Warren's stance on big tech, I appreciate that. Tulsi Gabbard's stance on war, private prisons, and I think Warren and Bernie and most of them are opposed to private prisons. I agree with that, okay. Gabbard has defended free speech. Has anybody else? Yang did. Tulsi has also called out big tech. Spot on. But when you look at the bulk of what they're proposing in the Democratic debate stage, undocumented immigrants get health care. Come on. Let's read this story because I could just rant on the Democrats all the time. But the debates are coming up, so that'll be a lot of fun. Now, before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. You get it. Share this video if you like it. They derank independent political commentary. Let's read the story. Vox writes, despite high hopes from congressional Democrats that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's testimony would clarify the conclusions of the Mueller report for the American public, new polls show that the hearings changed few minds about the report's contents and that a partisan split remains on questions of impeachment and presidential wrongdoing. And I believe it was Nancy Pelosi who said no to impeachment for two reasons. You're not going to get it to the Senate, and it's divisive and bad for the party. It's going to make you look like whiny losers. Come out right now and say, you know what? Fine. We're not going to impeach the president. We're going to challenge him on his stance about X, Y, and Z. But they're not. They're saying the wall is immoral. Not an argument. I don't know what that means. How do you propose we solve this problem? They're not proposing, look, as a party, they're off message. I understand Elizabeth Warren has some ideas. I think some of them go too far. I personally think we need to figure out how to solve the student debt problem because it's turning young people into socialists. Literally is. I don't believe straight forgiveness is the answer, but I do believe perhaps freezing interest rates on student debt so they can now be paid off more easily makes a lot of sense. We need some kind of program to alleviate alleviate the problem. Because I'll tell you this, man, I can't tell you how many people I meet say they want to live in a van. Now that sounds fun because I built a van too, okay? But I also own a home. And these young people don't. They're saying they don't want to buy houses. What happens then when the housing market bottoms out? We need to figure out how to solve this problem. I don't want to, I'm getting off on a tangent. Let's read on. An ABC News Ipsos poll found that Mueller's testimony did little to change voters' minds on the issue of impeaching Trump. In response to the question, did Robert Mueller's testimony make you more or less likely to support the impeachment of Trump? 47% of Americans said hearing from Mueller made no difference. Although 48% of Democrats polled said they were more likely to support impeachment following Mueller's testimony, just 3% of Republicans said the same. The testimony seemed to convince Republicans that grounds for impeachment do not exist. It doesn't. You can argue he tried to obstruct, he didn't obstruct. I guess attempted obstruction, is that a crime? I honestly don't know. You know, if somebody tries to trip me, or what if, like, actually, they didn't even try to. Trump, well, I guess you could argue he tried to, but you could argue he also didn't. He told people to try and do things that may or may not have even been obstruction. A majority of Republicans, 54%, said the hearings didn't change their views on impeachment at all. However, as did 44% of Democrats. A similar partisan split was found on the issue of foreign election interference. But I want to stress, a lot of the Democrats probably already want him impeached. A lot of the Republicans probably already don't, and they're not going to be changed based on whatever Mueller says. Confirmation bias is at play. Democrats only want to hear what they think will benefit them. Republicans want to hear what they think will benefit them. But I got to stress, the data shows conservatives read liberal and conservative news, mostly conservative, but a decent amount, around 35% of their news is from liberal sources. Moderates, about the same. Moderates get their news from the left and a little bit from the right, about 60% from the left, around, no, I'm sorry, it's like 60-40. The liberals, however, 95% of their news comes from left-wing sources. So what ends up happening then is the left will hear all of these sound bites, impeachment. They'll get worked into a tizzy, and then moderates and the right will hear a little bit of both. The same narrative we heard from Jack Dorsey, that liberal journalists only follow liberal journalists and conservatives followed both. This was in 2016. This to me presents a huge problem, but it also shows why the center and the right are more aligned today. We're getting our news from more sources. So let's read on. Donald Trump has made, the point I was trying to make is that's why moderates are going to be pushed away from impeachment and from the left, because they're not seeing what the left is stuck. The left is in a bubble. They say Donald Trump has made it clear he sees Mueller's report as clearing him of any and all wrongdoing. The phrase "no collusion, no obstruction" is true, has become a mantra for the president and supporters. The report did not absolve Trump, however. Yes, because prosecutors can't. There is literally, is there a legal body in the U.S. that can literally absolve you of a crime? Exonerate is the appropriate term. Investigations don't exonerate anybody. You are always innocent unless they can prove otherwise. Trump is innocent, period, because that is the legal standard of innocent until proven guilty. There was no, look, even if you have some evidence, you're still innocent. Even if there's some evidence, you don't need to be exonerated because you're innocent. Okay? Listen, you can have like a crime scene, a robbery, and I could find the special candy bar on you. That is evidence, circumstantial, that may lead to you having committed the robbery. But there's a bunch of other circumstances too. That's why we presume your innocence. Maybe someone handed you the candy bar. Maybe someone handed it to someone who handed it to someone who handed it to someone who handed it to you. Maybe the person who got robbed actually dropped the candy bar 10 feet before. The point is, if someone says someone stole my candy bar and you're found with it, it doesn't prove you're guilty. It's one bit of evidence. It's decent, but you're still innocent unless they can prove otherwise. The exoneration thing is so ridiculously silly. They say Democrats hope to make this clear during his testimony, but a new Morning Consult poll suggests they may not have been successful in doing so. The poll found 35% of voters believe the special counsel had exonerated the president, while 41% believe the opposite. I am absolutely disgusted by what Mueller has said. I am. And he will get no sympathy from me on this issue. Prosecutors, investigators do not exonerate. They don't. And he even said it. So you know what? The point of this video is the partisan difference is not going to change. Nobody's going to back down. But I will say what I see from this is moderates being pushed towards the right over and over and over again. Because I'm reading news on the left and the right, okay? And I'm seeing the nonsense standards. You don't exonerate people. That's not how it works. The Mueller testimony's ratings were down. Nobody cares anymore. All you're doing every time they do this is they're taking moderates and saying, go right, Go right, everybody, just right this way. There you go. And the left is helping. This is what I've said in the past. Politics flows in one direction. If someone hangs out with a conservative, they're called conservative. If a liberal hangs out with a conservative, they say, aha, this proves a liberal is right-wing. But the right-winger is never called liberal for hanging out with the liberal. Thus, politics flows in one direction. They're feeding everybody down the pipeline to the right. They're saying, hey, we're going to do a big nonsense hearing that nobody cares about. Seriously, it's not considered, it's like 0.5% of people think it's a top issue. And then once we're done, nothing gets solved, and moderates are just confused to what happened in the first place. So in the end, the Mueller testimony was a huge waste of time. That's just bad for Democrats. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Podcast every day at 6:30 p.m. I will see you all then.